The annual teaching plan for every subject indicates the topics that must be taught per grade and the time that must be spent teaching that content. It further specifies the core concepts, skills and values that learners will be able to acquire after having been taught the content. Adherence to the annual teaching plan is a non-negotiable practice that teachers must observe at all times. It is a violation of policy for any teacher to teach the learners the content of the work which is outside something that must be taught in the subject and the grade. It is against this background that the subject teacher and the head of department must know how to calculate the amount of content or syllabi coverage that has taken place within a specific period of time. The head of department must be able to tell the teacher to come up with a catch-up plan if it is discovered after the curriculum or content verification that the teacher is behind ATP in terms of the work that was supposed to have been taught in the class or covered. My name is Mr. G. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get a notification whenever I release a new video. Comment on the video because your views are important for the growth of this channel. In today's video, I will indicate how both the teacher and the HOD can calculate the syllabi coverage or content coverage in the classroom. I think I must state up front that the HOD can only do the curriculum coverage verification after the educator has already completed his or her own educator reporting tool on syllabi coverage. This is a very important activity for the HOD to perform as part of curriculum management. The HOD must have a completed copy of educator reporting tool on curriculum, the annual teaching plan, the learner's books, so that the process of the verification of curriculum coverage is done thoroughly. This is done to ensure that the process of curriculum verification is effective and accurate. Let us now look at the proposed tool which can be used to calculate the syllabi coverage. The example that we're going to use is that for social sciences, but I must indicate that the principle is the same in all the other subjects. Right, moving right along on the screen right now, you are having the educator reporting tool for social sciences, which the teacher can use to track himself or herself in terms of the topics and the number of activities that have been given to learners. Okay, the very same educator reporting tool is the one that we have indicated in our video, that it is the same tool that the HOD, that is the head of department, must use when he or she checks or tracks the teacher's progress in terms of content coverage against the ATP. So now let's look at how this particular tool works so that we can be able to understand how to calculate the content or curriculum coverage in a subject. Remember, I've indicated that the principle is the same in all the subjects. The only difference is that the tool can be developed to suit the subject that the teacher is teaching. So in our example this time around, we're going to use social sciences, right? When we look at the tool, you can see that, okay, it is for the intermediate phase, right? The grade is grade 6. Social sciences, this is the tracking tool to check on the amount of content or syllabi coverage that the teacher has covered in the classroom. Okay, right there you'll have the name of the school, the educator. Okay, then we have the accumulated percentage. Remember, this is for term 2, meaning that coming from term 1, the expectation is that already 25% of term 1 coverage has been covered, okay? But depending on the amount of work that the teacher has covered out of 25, all right? So that will be a carryover from term 1, all right? The expectation is that each and every term is expected that the total coverage is supposed to be 25%, okay? Right, so we are now in term 2. So in terms of this subject in front of us, we are having geography. So far it is indicated 0% because the teacher has not yet started teaching. Then we also have history, okay? Then we can be having the carry over from term 1 if we do have here, okay? This is the portion where it speaks to the weeks, okay? We have week 1 and 2. Then here we're going to have the number of periods, okay, that we are having in that particular week. I'm going to scroll so that we can see. All right, number of periods for the 2 weeks, we have about 6 of them, okay, about 6 of them. So then in terms of the number of written activities that are expected, okay, for the first 2 periods, we are expecting that 1 activity must be written by learners, and then the topic that the teacher must tackle is the one that is indicated here, the introduction to the topic, trade, focus, South Africa, and the world. All right. So I must indicate that this particular tool is for social sciences. So it's the same tool that the HOD will use after having received the completed tool by the teacher. All right. So here it says number of activities completed. So here, remember, we said number of activities that are expected to be completed in terms of the first 2 periods. We have 1 activity. So when the teacher puts the number of activities here, for instance, if he or she types there, it is supposed to indicate that, okay, now it's 0.84% covered of the curriculum in terms of the first 2 periods, okay? Here we have the expected syllabi coverage in terms of percentages, okay? If this topic has been covered and this activity has been written, okay, the expectation is that it's going to total to 0.84. So hence, as you saw me typing 1 here, now it means the actual that has been covered is 0.84%, okay? Then moving right along, the next periods, 2 periods, okay? The expectation in terms of number of activities, we are having 1, the topic is this one, or the content, okay? So if the teacher again has done that, okay, he or she is going to indicate that, okay, the expected number of activities, we are having 1 and I have done 1, then I'm going to type 1, okay? Then you see that now I am on 0.83 in terms of that, and it is adding up to the first 2 periods that we had 1 activity. Then as you can see here, out of 2.5, I'm having 1.67, okay, percentage based on the number of topics that I've so far covered. We are having 2 content coverage here in terms of the topics, then the number of activities, there they are, okay? Then the expectation is that this one, the weighting is 0.4 and this one 0.8, okay, when we add them together, and then that is what we have so far. Then let's go to the last period in terms of the first 2 weeks, okay? We have the 2 periods, the expectation in terms of the number of activities there, we are expected to administer or to give learners 1 exercise, okay, out of this content or this topic. I'm going to type again, okay? I put the 1, meaning that the number of activities have been completed, all right? Then when we see, you'll find that now it adds up to what the topic and the activity worth in terms of weighting, 0.83. So now in the first 2 weeks, I have covered out of 0,5, I've covered 0,5 because I've taught all the 3 topics and learners have written the 3 activities. Okay, so now I can see this is where I am. And then this particular portion here, that is wherein I'm going to indicate the dates on which these topics or these exercises have been completed. Okay, there will be an indication of that. Okay, right. Moving right along, it is going to go in that way. When we go down there, you will have the next section going right along, showing the number of activities, okay, and the topics. Then if I've done those, I must know that each one of them, the weighting is indicated here. So it will keep on adding. But basically, as you can see, for each and every 2 weeks here, you see that the percentage of coverage expected is 0.25. So far, because I haven't done anything, it is on 0. Okay, so that is what it means. Right, going right along, when we go down there, let's move to the bottom for the purpose of you seeing. All right, let's move to the bottom of the educator reporting tool. All right, this is where we are. Okay, end of term 2, it will be the end of cycle 4. Okay, remember we've got 8 cycles in the academic year. All right, end of term 2, it will be signaling the end of cycle 4. Right, so the expectation is that at the end of term 2, the syllabi coverage percentage is supposed to be at 50%. Remember the first term, it was 25. It's accumulative. Okay, so end of term 2, it's supposed to be at 50%. So basically, based on the number of activities and the topics that the teacher shall have covered in the classroom, this particular spreadsheet will be adding up in terms of the topics that have been covered and the number of activities. And then out of 25, okay, we are going to have the actual that the teacher shall have covered. Okay, then here it is going to speak to the accumulative from the total coming from term 1. All right, so after the teacher will have completed this particular tool, depending on the management plan from the HOD as to when is he or she going to check content coverage, this tool must be submitted to the HOD, accompanied by the ATP and the learner's books. So when the HOD receives this, he or she is going to complete another tool that looks exactly like this. And then, but what will happen is that the HOD is going to look at the completed tool and complete his own tool again, looking at what the teacher has indicated in terms of the topics and the number of activities that have been completed. So the ATP will be indicating whether the topics that must be taught in which week. Okay, then the HOD is going to compare the completed educator reporting tool with the ATP. If the teacher is on track, is the teacher behind or is going exactly at the pace of the ATP? So the report will be generated based on the findings to say, okay, when we compared your pace in terms of your educator reporting tool, are you on par with the ATP or behind? Okay, because sometimes it does happen that the teacher might be up front as compared to the ATP. All right, sometimes the teacher might be behind because of many contributing factors. Like for instance, you find that learners are taking time to understand some of the concepts, so you can't just move to the next topic ignoring the fact that learners haven't understood. So those are some of the challenges that might sometimes contribute to the teacher not being on track in terms of content coverage because of such unforeseen circumstances. Sometimes it could be due to other competing priorities in the school. Sometimes learners have to go for sporting activities or whatever that might disturb the teaching and learning in the school. that might have a serious impact on the syllabi coverage. So that is how the teacher can track his or her own progress in terms of content coverage or curriculum coverage using the educator reporting tool, which is again going to be used by the HOD to track the teacher and give feedback as to where is the teacher against the ATP in terms of the amount of content that has been covered, looking at the topics as well as the number of activities that have been given to learners. So the purpose of also having the learners books is for the HOD to track that indeed, if we say by this time you are expected to have at least administered a certain number of activities, when we go to the learners book, we're going to find those number of activities being there. Of course, we understand that there could be those learners that sometimes don't write work, but from the sampled books, actually there would be those that are known to be mostly at school and they do the work. Hence, it is important to have a sample of learners at different levels in terms of having the true reflection of what is happening in the classroom. So this is an example of an educator reporting tool which can be used to calculate or to track the content or syllabi coverage in different subjects, so that before the end of the term, one can have an indication of whether you are on track or behind as compared to the ATP, because it is very important that we have curriculum management in such a way that we are able to tell if the pace of the teacher is behind the ATP or in front of the or ahead the ATP. Okay, so this kind of practice is part of curriculum management to ensure that what has to be covered must be covered, and we are able to quantify the amount of work that has been covered by making sure that we have a tool of this nature that is going to be used to calculate the curriculum coverage. I hope you now have an indication of how to calculate the curriculum or syllabi coverage in the classroom, so that you have an indication of the pace of the teacher against the learners as well as the ATP. Remember, you will be a genius if you can comment on the video, like, share, and click on the subscribe button. Thanks a million for your time.